Sorry, Emily. Look, I just even wrote on you. It's so rude. Sorry about that. Welcome, everyone. Before we begin, we will have a prayer from Councilman Hensley, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, as we approach the 20th anniversary of that terrible day, 77 lives lost in New York, Washington, D.C., and Shanksville, and communities that were in service of and pray for all of the U.S. service members who answered the call in our response to those attacks. Pray for the more than 50,000 U.S. service members wounded in Iraq and Afghanistan. And we remember and mourn the more than 7,000 service members who gave their lives in service to our country, including the 13 members of the Marine Corps, Navy, and killed just days ago by a terrorist bomb. They were working to safely evacuate Americans and Afghan civilians from harm's way. And we pray for the hundreds of thousands of civilian lives cut short, families destroyed during these 20 years of fighting. Pray for the lives lost and for all of those affected from the Gulf Coast to New England by Hurricane Ida, that you are with them as they recover from this incredible disaster and the loved ones lost. And we pray for all of the brave and selfless individuals who dropped everything to rush to their aid, including members of our Jefferson City Fire Department, who we were grateful to see return safe and healthy after a week of hard work devoted to this effort. Pray and show thanks, as always, for all of the first responders in our community. Keep us safe. Lord, at this time of so much profound upheaval, pain, and destruction, we offer a humble prayer for grace and strength. For all of the intentions left unspoken by those gathered here tonight, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for that prayer, Councilman Hensley. And I will now call to order the Tuesday, September 7th, 2021 City Council meeting. This meeting is also available virtually and phone-in participation, which is listed on the agenda on our website at jeffersoncitymo.gov. Mrs. Donaldson, roll call, please.
Fitzwater,
Present.
Hensley,
Present.
Kimna, Lester,
Here.
Schreiber, Spencer,
Here.
Spicer,
Present.
Vogt,
Here.
Ward,
Here.
Wiseman.
Present. Item 3, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 3, miscellaneous agenda items. We have a written report from Chesney Schulte, an RN from the Cole County Health Department, so I will read that at this time. The number of Cole County residents testing positive for COVID-19 began to increase in the last week of June. That trend continued all through the month of July and the first part of August. We are cautiously optimistic to report that the number of Cole County residents testing positive for COVID-19 has started to decline since mid-August. The number of admissions due to COVID-19 at local hospitals has also begun to trend downward. Please continue doing all that you can to stay healthy, decrease your risk of exposure to illness, and decrease the spread of illness to others. 48.7% of the total population in Cole County have initiated vaccination, and 43.8% have completed a COVID-19 vaccine series. COVID-19 vaccines are available to the community at many different clinic and pharmacy settings. Please keep in mind that the goal of the COVID-19 vaccine is to decrease the severity of symptoms and decrease the risk of hospitalization. Even if fully vaccinated, continue taking precautions to stay healthy. Individuals who initiated the COVID-19 vaccine series with an mRNA vaccine are now eligible to receive an additional dose of mRNA vaccine if he or she is immunocompromised. At this time, we recommend those who are considered immunocompromised reach out to their physicians with questions regarding an additional dose. Additional doses for general population have not been authorized at this time. The Cole County Commission voted to waive the fee for rapid antibody testing that Cole County Health Department offers. An individual can receive one free COVID-19 antibody test every 90 days. If testing more frequently, the cost is $20 at Cole County Health Department. That decision was effective today. The COVID-19 antibody test does not test for current illness, but rather for the immune response after illness. So Chesney was unable to participate in our meeting this evening, but she did say that if anyone has any questions, that she would be happy to follow up with us tomorrow. So if we have any questions, we will relay those tonight and make sure that we get them out to the public as well. So at this time, are there any council questions? Okay, we appreciate that report from the Cole County Health Department. And item 5, public hearings, we have none. Item 6, we have no appointments by the mayor. Item 7, no presentations from staff, consultants, invited guests. So we will move on to item 8, the announcements by mayor, council, and staff. So we will start with our 4 committees. Do we have anything to report from our 4 standing committees this evening? Councilman Schreiber.
Public safety meeting on September 23rd, Thursday, 7:30 in the morning, September 23rd.
Thank you. Any other committees? Councilman Fitzwater?
Yeah, the Public Works and Planning will be meeting this Thursday, 2 days at 7:30
Thank you, Councilman.
across the hall.
Okay. We do have a few other announcements. I'd like to call on Captain Wilde to give us an update on the Veterans Memorial. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This Saturday, September the 11th, the Jeff City Veterans Council will be hosting a rededication ceremony of the Jefferson City Veterans Plaza, which is in the front yard of the Jeff City Police Department at 401 Monroe Street. That'll be held at 10:30 and it's open to the public. Recent improvements to that plaza include 3 pedestals that allows for more bricks to be purchased for veterans to commemorate their service. So we're using this dedication ceremony on 9/11 to promote the increased participation by veterans since the 9/11 20 years ago. We've created a lot of veterans since then, and we want to show everybody we've got ample room to buy bricks for them. 10:30 a.m. on Saturday morning.
Thank you. Any questions for Captain Wilde on that? Appreciate your assistance and participation on that. And then also, Mr. Spalding from Parks and Rec will tell us about the upcoming Parks Commission meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. On September 14th, a week from today, the Park Commission and myself would like to invite you all to attend our Park Commission meeting at 4:30 at the link. We will have Furlan Management, the group that was chosen to conduct our ice arena feasibility study, will be there to present their findings. Draft copy of the report has been sent to you. And if you haven't received that, please let me know and I'll make sure you get it. But we hope you can attend to hear what their report is.
Thank you, Mr. Spalding. Any questions? All right. And then also speaking of parks, we utilize the city park for the Peddlers Jamboree event this weekend. So I know that was quite a success, and Councilman Kemna, who's not only our parks liaison, but also pretty instrumental in getting that event to Jefferson City, participated in it. So I see that you've got all the mud cleaned off from the ride from Columbia on the muddy Saturday, but it sounded like it was pretty exciting. So if you could give us a report.
Yeah, I think everyone that was involved for the first time coming to Jeff City, thought it was a success. So traditionally, the ride would go from Columbia to Boonville on the Katy Trail. And I participated a couple years ago, with it, and they kind of altered the routes, but with some of the trails still being kind of washed out on Boonville, I talked to them about maybe bringing it to Jefferson City. And so they had hopes of doing it last year and staying at the prison. They got canceled because of COVID. So this year, Labor Day was the first year that they finally were able to make it happen. And so you would start at MKT, basically Flat Branch Park, hit the Katy Trail, head south, and it would stop at McBain, Cooper's Landing, Hartsburg, North Jeff City. I think Prison Brews got in on the mix. And then all the riders would end at Riverside Park for a little festival and some fireworks and a concert. Camp out. There were many, I talked to Craig Hall with the CVB, there were many that got hotels. So it was about 16 to 1,700 riders that kind of came into Jeff City on that Saturday and took part of it. And it was a fun little event over Labor Day weekend. So I was talking with Bill Mullendorf of Hartsburg. They was really pleased, and they said they cleaned up after themselves. And I don't know, talking with Todd, I don't know if the amphitheater, I think it looked pretty clean the next day, so it was good. It was good for Jefferson City, and everyone that I spoke with, and I know you spoke with several, had a great time.
Yes, thank you. That was an exciting evening. I joined the ride in Jefferson City, and by that time the rain had stopped, and it was a beautiful sunset evening here. The setting at the park was beautiful. I heard so many amazing, wonderful comments. I wish you all could have heard the comments that I did. Met people from Colorado, LA, Kansas City, St. Louis, Joplin, Iowa. I wish I could have kept track. I know the organizers said they'll try to get us that information so that we can share from where everybody came. I didn't realize how far-reaching of an event this really is and what an impact it has on bringing people here. I met some people that this was their first time in the capital city, and they did say, despite the rain and the muddy challenges and the environment they had to ride in, that these are the years that they always remember. These are the ones that are the most memorable and eventful for them. So certainly I think they'll have some stories to tell about it for sure. We do hope they come back and look forward to having them back. But that's such an asset, the Katy Trail, and getting people in here. And a lot of them were very impressed with our capital city and heard wonderful compliments. So thank you. Yeah, that was great. And then we have a report from Ms. Senzi.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to announce that we're holding a second public meeting for the State Community Development Block Grant CARES Act. If you remember, we did a community needs assessment. We already held one public meeting, but it was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And there was concern from the community that we needed to do an evening meeting. So we are choosing to do that. The public meeting will be Thursday, September 16th at 6:30 p.m. in the council chambers.
Thank you. Any questions on that? Okay. And I'll give my announcements. First of all, I wanted to congratulate our police officers, Sergeant Ottolini and Officer Clausen, who received the Medal of Valor Award from Governor Parson. And we've invited them to come to a future city council meeting so we can recognize them as well. And we certainly are very proud that they received that recognition from the governor. A couple other announcements. Guns and Hoses was held last weekend, and it was a great showing by both teams. Team Guns took the trophy home again. So congratulations to our police department that participated, and I know the firefighters put up a good showing as well. So exciting to have that annual event. I know they raised a lot of money for Safety Net, and we really appreciate all that they did to help those that need it for Safety Net. Yes.
For historical data, though, Hoses never lost the football game. So, and I did play quarterback, so it was second string
Okay.
quarterback.
Well, you weren't out there on the ice, so maybe that was a
No,
disadvantage.
doctor's recommendation.
Chief Schrader.
We also never use university football players when we played. So our guys were really police department guys. So,
Well, am I going to have to get the gavel out? I've never had to use that before, but I might have to. Chief Schofield, you're awfully quiet over there. But it was wonderful. It's great to see the camaraderie and the excitement and everybody coming together for a great cause. So congratulations to all, and especially Team Guns there. A couple other announcements that I wanted to make. I had the opportunity last Monday to ride the Union Pacific Big Boy in from Herman to Jefferson City, and that was certainly a once in a lifetime experience. So we're thankful to Union Pacific for bringing the Big Boy around the country, the only one of its kind of a steam engine and the largest of its kind that's still operating. The history is truly amazing. It was certainly a hot ride, but worth it to be in the engine and see the inner workings of it. But I will say that I tried to take hundreds of pictures and videos and all kinds of documentation, because while it's an opportunity that very few have the opportunity to do, I wanted to make sure and try to share that with as many people as possible, and took some notes, and we'll try to get that together and share that widely. But I did post and share some photos on my Facebook page, which is public, if people want to see what that the photos and what that experience was like. I wanted to make people feel like they were on it there with me, because that was pretty incredible. And the hundreds of people in Jefferson City that came out to get a glimpse of that was pretty amazing. So we were happy to have them in Jefferson City. And again, an event that brought people from all over that came to Jefferson City just to get a glimpse of that rare opportunity. Announcement for upcoming events, as was mentioned, this Saturday is September 11th. As we commemorate the 20th anniversary, there are many things going on in the capital city, and that actually will begin on Friday night, September 10th, at 7 p.m. at the Capitol. So events begin 7 p.m. Friday evening with an opening ceremony followed by a reading of the names of those who lost their lives on 9/11. The reading will occur on the south lawn of the Missouri State Capitol on Friday night. Saturday's events begin at 8:30 a.m. with the Stephen Siller Tunnel to Towers 5K run and walk on the south steps of the Capitol. Members of the public are invited to run or walk alongside first responders, veterans, and active military service personnel. And at noon, the Patriot Day Parade will begin at the corner of Broadway and High Street. The parade will include bands, first responders, and military units. During the parade, the Missouri Division of Fire Safety will conduct the 9/11 Memorial Stair climb inside, I believe that's at the Jefferson building. And as far as I know, that will actually be after the parade. And the Firefighters Association will be serving pulled pork sandwiches and nachos at the St. Peter's Church Sillinger Center, where proceeds of the sale of food will go to the Firefighters Memorial in Kingdom City. And let's see, the stair climb then would be at 1 following the parade, which is at noon. So I believe I covered everything that's going on Friday night and Saturday to commemorate September 11th, but the full schedule is at Missouri Patriot Day page on Facebook, and they also have a website. So did I miss anything or any other questions on that?
Mayor, may I make a few additions about the parade?
Yes.
Yes, so with regard to the Patriots Day Parade, we're going to have lineup in case anybody's interested in being that, or in the parade. We're going to line up in lots 10 and 12. I know you guys are all shocked that I'm doing parades, right? We're going to line up in lots 10 and 12 at around 11 o'clock. Missouri Boulevard is going to be the the exit for both of those lots, so that way we can come out and come up on High Street. And then we're going to start going up High Street. The entrance for the parade are going to start going up High Street around quarter till, so that way we can start at the starting point at exactly noon. So, and I believe there's going to be a flyover at noon and at 12:15.
Thank you, Councilwoman Wiseman, for those extra details. We
One
appreciate
additional
that.
thing, Mayor, too, also just to let everybody know that memorial that's coming through and going to be on display both Thursday and Friday, I believe it's going to be coming to town on Wednesday evening under escort by the Patriot Guard, which is also something pretty impressive to see.
Thank you for that information as well. And we hope everybody can get out and pay their respects and have an opportunity to see all of these displays in Jefferson City. Are there any other announcements? Okay. We will move on to item 11, consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 12, bills introduced 2021-42.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri vacating and discontinuing the right-of-way of the 400 blocks of Union Street and Case Street and two unnamed alleys located to the north and south of 400 block of Case Street and all of the right-of-way of Overman Place and amending Chapter 19 Motor Vehicles and Traffic by modifying Schedule D, one-way roadway, Schedule G, stop intersections, Schedule J, parking prohibited, and Schedule Z, residential permit parking zones.
Mr. Marash?
Thank you. Inclusive, but it traffic regulations, sports facilities for Jefferson City High School, which will be soccer and baseball field. Answer your question.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, 2021-43.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri authorizing the redevelopment agreement between the City of Jefferson and Central Missouri Community Action Agency for the redevelopment of 805 Monroe Street.
Ms. Senzi?
Yes, 805 Monroe Street previously had a dangerous building, which the property owner at the time donated the property to the city. We cleared the property with utilizing community development block grant funds and put it out for redevelopment, in which CMCA won the bid. They're going to pay the city $500 for the property and develop a 3 to 4 bedroom, single family home with a detached garage in the rear. That's where we'll be working on with them on the details of that moving forward. I'd be happy to answer any questions about the redevelopment.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, bills pending 2021-40.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri amending the FY 2021 budget of the City of Jefferson, Missouri by appropriating additional funds within the Park Fund.
Mr. Spalding?
Thank you, Mayor. This would authorize a supplemental appropriation from our fund balance to the Park Fund to renovate the historic Ellis Porter Riverside house. This house, or this was, the Park Commission awarded this, the construction bid to Verslois Construction Company at the July Commission meeting. This house will serve as kind of a hub for the park. It will include ticket offices for staff with the event management group. Also, our partnership with Master Gardeners will have a space for meetings and also a place where they can meet and do things for the botanical gardens that will start construction for this next year.
Thank you, Mr. Spalding. Is there, yes, Councilman Spencer?
Yes, Mr. Spalding, is there a way that the council could get a presentation of that project? It would probably be a little bit more beneficial for me instead of just reading it off ordinance form. I would assume that the presentation like you gave Parks Commission would be nice. We can have that.
If the council, I suppose, wishes that, I certainly could.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Deliberation? Roll call, please.
Fitzwater,
Aye.
Hensley,
Aye.
Kimna,
Aye.
Lester,
Aye.
Schreiber, Spencer,
No.
Spicer,
Aye.
Vogt,
Aye.
Ward, aye, Wiseman.
Aye.
Bill passes. 2021-41.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a $152,359 agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for Metropolitan Transportation Planning Services for the period of November 1, 2021 to October 31, 2022, reflecting consolidated planning grant funds as approved in the FY 2022 Unified Planning Work Program.
Mr. Barron?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the annual funding agreement with MoDOT for funding of the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. It's undergone this process about 18 years. This is so the city can administer the Campo Work Program. The work program is approved by the Campo Board of Directors. It was approved for this year back in May by the Campo Board. The agreement is for, as the clerk read, $152,359. It does include, it involves a 20% match at the local level. 3/4 of that match is funded by the city of Jefferson, and the remaining quarter is funded by Cole County. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Hensley,
Aye.
Kimna,
Aye.
Lester,
Aye.
Schreiber, Spencer,
Aye.
Spicer.
Aye.
Vote.
Aye.
Ward. Aye. Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Bill passes. Informal calendar, we have 2021-36. Councilman Hensley.
Yeah, let's take that off.
Thank you.
And
Madam Mayor, first, before someone wants to make a, postpone the vote and make a motion.
I believe we would read it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri adopting a budget and personnel classification plan for the city for the period of November 1, 2021 to October 31, 2022, and appropriating money in the city treasury to pay the costs of operating the city government during the period in accordance with the budget.
And the sponsor has indicated his intention is to pull that off the informal.
Correct.
And typically, we would have Mrs. Miller give us a brief update, a staff update on that. So we'll do that at this time.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The proposed appropriation for this ordinance from the general fund is projected to be $34,370,540.98, with additional funding from other funds and for capital projects, bringing the total City of Jefferson budget for fiscal year 2022 to $65,196,821.08.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. At this point, is there any council discussion or deliberation? Councilman Hensley?
Comments on the process. Just to remind everybody, the budget committee charged annually, working together, operating budget based on reality, best as we can discern it. And this year we held 6 meetings. 3 of those meetings were introductory meetings, sort of. One was a straight introduction meeting. 2 were department presentation. And then there had been those 6 meetings when we had a balanced budget or substantive discussion points presented by anyone, despite ample repeated opportunities for substantive commentary proposals. Budget committee budget and sent it to the council, just like every year. I went back and reviewed budget committee meeting minutes from 2015 to 2020. Don't be you can do it. To confirm that this year's process was perfectly consistent, all available history. Let's see. So the introductory and department presentation meetings, 3 that we had, the 3 committee discussion meetings. We'll all remember that in 2020, we worked together to make department presentation meetings more intentional and structured. Condense those into 2 longer meetings. I received only positive feedback. Even at this point, I haven't heard anyone criticize the 2 department presentation meeting approach. There was no impact on discussion time. The first one ran a little long. There was plenty of discussion. The second one actually ended early. Call a shortness of discussion there. So in 2015, there were 5 introductory meetings like that, department presentations. In 2016, there were 3.
Could you get closer to your mic? I notice it keeps cutting out. Is that what I just saw? Is it the mic or is he too far? Okay.
Someone swallow the thing. 2016, there were 3 of those introductory meetings. 2017, there were 4. 2018, there were 4. 2019, there were 5. 2020, there were 3. 2021, there were. So again, those 2 department presentation meetings sort of consolidated what had been a meeting approach for a while, and everything seemed to like it. More importantly, the 3 committee discussion meetings that we had this year were actually among the most in recent history. There were 3 in 2015, 2018. There were only 2 of those meetings in 2016, 2017, and last year in 2020. I would say that any claims that this year was somehow different or deserving of more discussion time are belied by the fact that there was really only deafening silence most of the time. Asked if anybody had anything else to say or any proposals to make or any items to bring up for and there were at least 2 of those 3 discussion meetings that I almost adjourned within the first few minutes because nobody had anything to say. So it's hard for me to square the criticism with, what actually happened. Members of the Budget Committee found and proposed ways to fund up to $1 million in stormwater, which was a huge priority for a lot of us until we voted on it. 9 new police cars, correcting on-call pager payroll issues across all departments, important upgrades to municipal court technology, replacing a large and heavily used recycling bin, and modernizing old paper-based systems with electronic storage and software. All of those items passed by unanimous voice votes. The issue of police body cams and in-car cams, I think it was pretty clear going in that any funding was going to be difficult in this budget. Even partial funding was going to require some pretty drastic moves. Maybe we wind up having to take those moves. I'm committed to us making that purchase and implement the program in the next fiscal year, as would have been done. They had been included in the budget we're about to pass. But I think it makes sense to wait 9 weeks in order to operate on complete information about available sources for funding. And I think it's also in line with some comments that we've gotten from FOP on the topic. So if there are critical public safety needs that we haven't addressed and that are not being pursued in other ways, I would just hope that the department leaders would let us know so that we can work together on those. Regarding discussion or call for more discussion on infrastructure and public works matters, if there were other funding issues for the budget committee to discuss about infrastructure and public works, it sure would have been helpful for members of the public works committee to provide some substantive input during those meetings. More useful, though, would be regular reports throughout the year regarding these priorities and observed deficiencies. I'm not aware of us receiving those. So those items can get the attention that they deserve rather than saving them up for once a year, discussing them when it's time to. There were a few items left on the parking lot throughout the course of the committee discussion meetings that weren't brought up for a vote by proposers. Staff and committee showed up ready and expecting to discuss those issues, but they expired for last. This happens every year. This is another normal part of our budget process. It's built right into the rules. If it's not acted on in a timely manner, it expires. But voicing a desire for discussion on a topic, but just leaving it there, it means about as much as it accomplishes. It's nothing. It is not the responsibility of any other member of this council to raise the concerns of another member or to speak on that member's behalf. I have never observed lack of courage in any of my colleagues to raise issues, speak on any issue, to articulate a problem, to work together to find solutions, and ultimately to bring an item up for a vote and vote on it, even when failure was guaranteed and the proposal may have been publicly unpopular. But they did it because they thought it was important and they thought it was the right thing to do, it was necessary. I've gone down that road, sometimes completely alone, sometimes with 1 or 2 patriots. And when the vote came down and we lost, we got over it, but we didn't stop looking for ways to fix the problem that we saw. People who voted the other way were not my enemies. Just saw an issue different. They are not evil, stupid, or weak-willed, or deserving of public attack. Just saw an issue different. Momentary opponents, regular partners, never enemies. Disagreement is not persecution. When I take on a priority that I want to push I own every step of it. I talk to my colleagues. I place items on an agenda, speak proposal during meetings and call for votes. Sometimes I draft the bill myself, to the horror of the law department. And I know that there are others on this council who do the same. But if I don't contribute substantively to something that I call a priority, and don't bring it up for a debate or a vote, that's on me, not on anyone else. Finally, there's this approach to governing that we see elsewhere with some elected officials, again, elsewhere, that involves a lot of tough talk, contributing little of substance, and then complaining and criticizing after the fact. I just pray that this does not come to infect how this city does its business. It's really the opposite of thoughtful leadership. It solves nothing. It erodes the public's faith in public service. It demonizes government from the inside while ignoring that government is just how we administer our community, provide for the public safety, enhance and care for our surroundings. Approach denigrates and works against the people and institutions it claims to support, attracts attention while abdicating accountability as a bad deal. I just pray that it doesn't come to infect how we do our business. I appreciate everyone's contributions to this year's budget process. I stand behind the budget.
Thank you, Councilman Hensley. Any other questions, comments, deliberation? Councilman Spencer?
I would like to move that we postpone the vote of adopting the 2021-2022 city operating budget on the basis of what we have not had an opportunity for public to give input. By adopting this budget in its current form, it's already inaccurate, not taking into consideration the potential cost of hiring additional staff and open staff positions.
Point of
The
order.
budget does not take into account the cost of another salary study, and importantly, in my opinion, the need for a performance and efficiency audit. You cannot have an honest discussion of salary increases without taking an in-depth look into city departments, into operations and staffing levels.
Before,
and
not
addresses-
to interrupt, but since we have the motion, do we need a second before? I mean, this would be more of discussion point.
I'm giving
We
my
also have-
reasons behind it.
Well,
And we
my
wanna-
point of order is that if you're going to make a motion, I think there needs to be a second before we can have discussion on it. I think you can have a separate discussion about the budget and why you don't agree that it should be passed. But I think if you're going to make a motion, that I think that you have to have a second first in order to have the discussion on your motion so we can vote on your motion before we vote on the budget motion. There
Okay,
you
we have
go.
a motion and second. Okay, proceed.
So one issue affects the other. Budget is not taking into consideration approved HR programs and what those ongoing costs on future budgets will be. It does not address where funds are coming from for litigation issues. This budget does not address two important issues posed by the mayor's and city's administrators' budget regarding the park admin fee and parks' ability to give raises above and beyond what is approved by the council. For clarification, Parks and Rec staff comparisons, pay classification range 25, which is the department director. The city average is $114,012.29 with 14 years of service. Our current Parks director is at above midpoint at $115,928.02 with 5 years of service. Put this in perspective, from day one, the current director was hired making more than the previous director with 30 years. Pay classification range 21. City average is $69,565. The Parks average is $74,448.40. There are other pay classifications that we could dive into as well. So I urge my colleagues to reconsider this budget. Let's pass a budget that's accurate and reflects our current state of known issues and costs.
So we have a motion and second to postpone 2021-36. Any further discussion on the motion to postpone? Roll call, please.
Kimna,
No.
Lester,
No.
Schreiber, Spencer, Spicer,
Yes.
Vote. No.
Ward,
No.
Wiseman,
No.
Fitzwater,
Yes.
Hensley.
No.
Motion fails, so we're back to the original bill of 2021-36. Any further discussion, deliberation? Councilman Spencer?
I move that I make some proposed amendments to the budget, that we strike out expenses for electronic employee filing system at an expense of $9,000, electronic learning management system for $18,000, electronic performance appraisal system for $10,000, and the safety awards program, which is not a fair and equitable program for all departments, for $6,000. That's a total of $43,000 that I would recommend to be placed in reserve fund balance.
You have a motion. Is there a second? Any further discussion on that motion? Roll call, please.
Lester,
No.
Schreiber, Spencer,
Yes?
Spicer,
Yes.
Vote,
No.
Ward,
No.
Wiseman,
No.
Fitzwater,
No.
Hensley,
No.
Kimna.
No.
Motion fails. So we're still on 2021-36, and I meant to say this with your first motion, and I just have to say it because when you mentioned that there was not an opportunity for public input, that is just simply not true. So I just have to say that all of our meetings were open. We have an opportunity this evening for public input. When it was introduced, it's been on the informal. We've had ample opportunity. So I want to make it really clear that we welcome public input. We always go out and seek it. It's been a very public process like it always
I think it
is.
could be
So
communicated better, if that's your feeling, so thank you.
you can think it can be communicated better, and that's your opinion, but certainly to say that there was not an opportunity for ample public input is simply not true.
It's on our calendar, on our website, on our homepage, and I also worked with Margie and IT for staff, put the link up there so people could also join electronically if they couldn't come in person.
Thank you.
And
So
I
we're
think,
back.
all due respect, though, it was on the calendar. We had meetings scheduled for budget committee meetings up till into October. So I think there is a sense of that we were rushing through this process.
I'll disagree with that as well. We're back on 2021-36. Any further deliberation? Councilman Fitzwater.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate the comments from both of my colleagues. I'm still trying to process some of them. Yeah, I realize we went through a very complicated budget process. Not sure it's fair to say that there wasn't input. There were some ideas that were laid on the table that weren't well received, that didn't move very far. I mean, I think there was some concerns raised, some by me, some by others, on how we were funding this budget. I mean, get it? There's opportunities when you're preparing the budget that you can fund things that it's very difficult to take out once they have been funded. We can talk about communication and probably going to have disagreements. And I asked very specifically last year if there were going to be significant changes in the budget, that we get some kind of heads up. I found out about the proposed pay increase at the Parks and Rec board meeting. We had not seen the budget at that time. It was available then. I did not see it. So, I mean, this is a give and take process, and I understand. I compliment the chairman. I mean, it's a very difficult process, and it takes a lot of work. It massages a lot of numbers. But, you know, I think there are those in the public that feel like they didn't have input. I'm not going to get into that debate. I knew about the meetings, so I mean, Whether people did or did not, there's some that think they didn't. So I mean, that's on them to, and they knew in general we were going through the budget process. There's been a couple items that were discussed in the letter that came to us that, you know, I still don't think that we have addressed in the budget. At least had an opportunity to lay on the table. You know, I agree it's not my responsibility to take something off the parking lot that someone else put on there, but I do think it was an item that would have been legitimate for this council to discuss and then decide where we want to go from there. There was, again, I'm still trying to process, but what I think I heard was there was some discussion on some issues out of Public Works that maybe could have been addressed a little more aggressively. I've talked since we were awarded the funds from the federal government. I was asked at the time, and I said it could be a blessing or a curse. In hindsight, I would have grabbed all those funds and put them into wastewater, because if the insinuation was that I wasn't fighting for wastewater, that is stormwater, that is not the case. I tried to raise issues that there was a process to get there. And in hindsight, I would have made an amendment to put another $1 million into it if that's the way we're going to discuss things. But everybody on this council is concerned about this city and the critical issues in the budget process. The fact of the matter is we funded it with money that is not going to be reciprocated in the future. Some of us were just trying to say, need to prioritize how we're going to spend those dollars. But again, if that's the process we're going to use, we can all utilize that process. So if it takes being more aggressive out of some areas, then we'll do that. If we're not going to sit down and have a discussion, and I understand the federal government is still up in the air, and that was part of my pushback, that we need to know what our opportunities are before we expend a lot of those dollars. I realize we've got a long time to expend them. My other concern, and I know they're extenuating circumstances, is the fact that we were not able to meet some of the needs of public safety. We have the public safety tax coming up, and I think the community will understand that we've got needs there, and this community has always stepped up and done the right thing. So hopefully that happens on November the 2nd. My concern is I was trying to have a discussion on some of those items that hopefully we could have put in place November 1 or, you know, however soon, versus having to wait till 22. But if that's the case, I think there's been some issues raised that the budget is now out of balance. I don't know how we adjust that. I mean, we've got some legal costs that I don't think are in the budget. Maybe they're in the budget. Approved a new position that will have to be added to the budget. I don't know where that comes in, if council approves that. So my conclusion is this was a give and take process all the way through. There were ideas laid on the table. The councilman suggested we go back and do a 1 or 2% cut, trying to dig into the budget. There's concerns been laid that we've got an impending problem in transit. We were fortunate we had dollars that we could plug that gap this year. We're going to have to figure it out over the next couple of years. We put some extra towards stormwater. We did not put $1 million of new money towards stormwater, but we increased it, and that is a positive. People of this city continue to ask us for that. So I commend the budget process on that. We've got very few things that we're required to do. One of them is to pass the budget, as the chairman has indicated, pass a balanced budget, fortunately, which our federal government had the same requirement. We indeed did that, but I think we've got some lingering issues that we're going to have to discuss as a council as we move forward through the years, and I'm committed to doing that. It's probably going to be done in a little bit different tact. I would ask that get heads up on these things in future budgets so that we can all kind of think through the process. It's, as I indicated, it's one thing to put it in on the front side. It's another thing to have to be the bad guy to take it out or maneuver it or use it someplace else without trying to upset some positive things that we're doing. So I just hope the comment on the disagreement is not a war. It's not a war. We're all trying to make the city of Jefferson a better place for everybody to live. We just have different opinions on how we get there. I'm going to support this budget because I think it's important to the citizens of this community, but I still have frustrations on how we got to it, and hopefully in 22 we'll do it a different way. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, discussion? Councilman Spencer.
I'd like to amend the budget by substituting an average across-the-board salary increase for $1,491.38 for all full-time staff based on figures and data provided by city staff. This is a cost-neutral proposal, but has a significant savings going forward because the top-end salaries will be reduced. This also helps enhance our lower-end salaries as well.
Is there a second? Discussion. Roll call, please.
Schreiber, Spencer,
Yes.
Spicer,
Yes.
Vogt,
No.
Ward,
No.
Wiseman,
No.
Fitzwater,
No.
Hensley,
No.
Kimna, Lester.
No.
Motion fails.
Madam
And-
Mayor,
Councilman Hensley.
thoughtful for the rest. Supports. Said it was based on city staff. Can we
Correct.
get a copy of that? Rest of us.
HR can forward that on. It was the documents that you sent me for all the salary increases, for what the current salaries are.
Okay, so a list of all city employees and their salaries that you
It
asked for?
seemed you were saying that the proposal was based on specific data that you received from staff. So is it just? looking
Just
at
the
everything's
salaries, yes.
Based on, how is
The
it neutral?
3%, we just averaged the 3%, all the total cost of what the 3% salary increases would be for all city staff, averaged it out.
I don't need that.
Okay, so, and he said he does not need that. I don't know if you've heard that. Okay. Any other discussion on Bill 36? Councilman Spencer.
Yes, I'd like to offer and amend the budget by implementing a flat across-the-board salary increase, full-time staff making $50,000 or more, which would result in an increase of $1,965.31 per individual. Those making less than $50,000 would receive a 3% salary increase. This plan would enhance salaries for the mid-range staff.
Is there a second? And further discussion? Roll call, please.
Spencer,
Yes?
Spicer,
Yes.
Vogt,
No.
Ward,
No.
Wiseman,
No.
Fitzwater,
No.
Hensley,
No.
Kimna,
No.
Lester,
No.
Schreiber.
Bill, motion fails. Any further discussion on 36? Councilman Spencer.
One more and that's it. Thank
Okay,
you
it's
for
kind
your-
of like a budget meeting all over again, but go ahead.
Amend the budget by implementing a flat across-the-board salary increase for full-time staff making $60,000 or more, which would result in an increase of $2,358.23 per individual. Those making less than the $60,000 would receive a 3% salary increase.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Spicer, Vogt,
No.
Ward,
No.
Wiseman,
No.
Fitzwater,
No.
Hensley.
No.
Kimna.
Nope.
Lester.
No.
Schreiber.
No.
Spencer.
Yes.
Motion fails, so we're back on 36. Any last comments before we take a vote on the Councilman Spencer?
So as I addressed earlier about the two questions that were proposed in your budget and the city administrator's budget, this process has made it even more clear that when it comes to parks, whether it's a discussion of projects, salaries, or admin fees, there needs to be an accountability process. And I believe the oversight should come from the council of elected officials, not volunteers appointed by the mayor. I believe that the Parks Commission has the best of intentions and wants to serve the interests of the community, but it should not have the direct oversight of a multi-million-dollar budget. No other city department has this type of structure that allows the spending of taxpayer dollars to be presented to the council and then consistently rubber stamped. So how do we fix these issues? It's time that the city charter be amended to give the city council more direct oversight of Parks and Recreation Department. As elected officials, the city council should have that authority over how tax dollars are spent. Volunteer commission cannot have effective direct supervision over day-to-day personnel and operations. This should fall under the authority of the city administrator, and that is consistent with all other city departments. This current system is broken and must be fixed. Thank you.
Any other discussion? And to be fair, that doesn't necessarily really fall under the budget, but we'll let you, certainly council can comment on anything they want. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Vote. This is a motion to pass the budget.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Lester.
Aye.
Schreiber. Spencer.
No.
Spicer.
Aye.
Bill passes. So I do want to take a moment to thank council for the hard work they've done on the budget and the meetings and the time that everybody put into it, and under the leadership of Councilman Hensley. So thank you for that, and also to city staff who gave the presentations, and we appreciate everybody's work over these last several weeks and months working up towards this budget. So just want to show my appreciation for everyone's work on this. And I do want to also mention too, when this piece about public input, because I'm pretty passionate about being open in public, is that I feel like this year we probably had the most open opportunities we've ever had, because this is really the first year we've actually had interaction where people can not only participate in person, as we can see, we're on WebEx, so they can literally join our meetings and give input virtually and even phone in. And this is a new phenomenon. We've never had this before. It's something that we were able to do here over the last year. So it used to be they had to be here in person to give input. So ample opportunity for public input. I just have to make sure that's really clear. I'm proud of Jefferson City for being a good example for public input and allowing every opportunity. Item 15, we have no resolutions. Item 16, nobody signed up, correct? Okay. Item 17, council and staff discussion of presentation topics. Item 18, new business, Mr. Barron. We have the city ward redistricting update.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
This is our update for the redistricting. The Census Bureau has released population data for the country down to the block level. It's just the population count numbers, and we have compiled that data. And so up on the screen is a compilation we've produced for each ward. And so it shows the ward population, what it was in 2010 and what it is in 2020, and what the percent change between those two within that decade is. And so make the statement that we are outside the math in terms of what the maximum deviation between different wards should be according to the laws. And so with that statement, basically saying that a redistricting process is necessary to be undertaken. And so the general redistricting criteria is up on the screen. These are things that are looked at within the process of redistricting. I'll just go through each of these briefly. Population equality, trying to make each ward equal in population with as minimal a deviation as possible. Trying to keep the different wards compact so that they're a contiguous group of territory. Retention of existing neighborhood boundaries, so trying not to cut neighborhoods between two different wards. Retention of precinct boundaries if possible, so being mindful of where people would be voting. Cohesion of other communities of interest, so not cutting a particular communities of interest into two different wards. Desire to retain historic boundaries, so trying to keep the wards where they historically have been located, and then also consideration of incumbencies, keeping incumbents within their current ward. So those are the general criteria that are laid out within a redistricting process. In the past, as up on the screen, as was reported to you at the last council meeting, past processes prior to the elimination of partisan politics within the council elections, the advisory committees were along party lines. However, the past two, after that, the council has undertaken work sessions, both in 2000 and 2010, a work session where staff presented options to the council. Council selected a preferred option. Then city staff undertook some open houses to allow the public to both comment on and understand the redistricting process and what is being proposed. Then staff presented that feedback to the council. The council held a public hearing and then passed the redistricting process by ordinance. And so we're proposing that process for this redistricting process. We are, in terms of timeline, short when compared to past decades, with the Census Bureau releasing their data late, basically. And then also candidate filing for the next municipal election begins on December 7th. So starting from today, there's basically a 3-month time period to undertake a redistricting process. This is the process that we've laid out at the staff level, and so what we propose and present to you tonight for discussion and consideration. Basically, propose a city council work session for Thursday, September 16th. This is a date of a budget hearing it was on the calendar as a budget hearing date. That's basically why we picked that date. There could be other dates, certainly as the council desires. Another date possibility would be during a regular council meeting. So instead of conducting a work session, just having the topic placed on the normal council agenda. A little hesitant with that because it could become a very detail-oriented type of discussion. So it could take some time. Then after a work session date where staff would present map options to the city council. So laying out a number of different options to redistrict that meets the various criteria that was presented. Then council would preferably select a preferred option, something that then staff could put forward to the public as the council's preferred option, and comments addressed not only on that, but also on other options that might be available. Then staff would conduct some open houses, probably during the weeks of September 27 and October 4. So sometime during that 2-week period would conduct at least 2 open houses hosted by city staff. After that, the bill that would redistrict would be placed on the council agenda for the October 18th council meeting. City staff would present feedback to the council, so any public comments that were received within the open house process. And then also the city council could conduct a public hearing on the matter at that meeting to receive direct comment from the public regarding the proposed redistricting. And then at the following council meeting of Monday, November 1st, would be the scheduled final reading passage by ordinance. That would leave about 1 month prior to candidate filing open opening. So there is a little bit of time, should there need to be more discussion, another council meeting perhaps, in order to accommodate that discussion. But the preference at the staff level is to conclude the process as early as possible so that potential candidates know which ward they're in and can proceed with their plans accordingly. And that's what I have, and I don't know if Ryan has anything to add to it.
Yeah, and just once again to kind of reiterate why we're proposing such a aggressive timeline, and it really has to do with two factors. The census data was later than what was traditionally received by, and then also state law changed the filing dates, actually moved it up into the beginning part of December, and so we've said this a few times, but we're really getting squeezed on both ends on the time frame. As the redistricting, just looking at the numbers and the current differences in the wards has been determined to be necessary as it's being kind of outside the acceptable deviations. We think it is prudent to try to get this done before the next municipal election cycle. So while this is a quick time frame for this type of process, we feel confident that there's plenty of opportunity for public input, for council deliberation, to give this process a fair shake and a thoroughly considered process. And so that's why we're doing it the way we are doing it. There's plenty of room in here, but not a whole lot of extra wiggle room. So that's what we have before us. That's kind of the cards that the people of Missouri, the municipalities of Missouri were dealt with this year. So just kind of want to give you that repeated update on the time frame.
Thank you, Mr. Molman and Mr. Barron. So it sounds like we need to give you our input. Your recommendation, Mr. Barron, is that we meet on the Thursday, September 16th. There were two options, either the 16th or the 20th, which is a regular council meeting. So you said you recommend doing the 16th, is that right? So we need to probably make a decision on what
I don't think
council
we had a
wants to do.
preference between the two.
Oh, okay, so either one.
Yeah, it's kind of a recognition that if we do this at a regular council meeting, it'll be, under new business toward the end of the meeting, and it would probably be a much lengthier meeting than what people are used to. So,
Okay.
Make sure you eat a snack beforehand and.
Got it.
Madam
Don't
Mayor.
make any
Yes.
TV plans.
I'm told that there is a CDBG public meeting September 16th, Thursday,
Okay.
within these chambers.
So is council okay just having a longer council meeting on the 20th and having that at the end? Okay. So Councilman, and I saw Laura Ward and then Fitzwater. So Councilwoman, did you
I
have
was
anything?
just going to share that information
Oh,
regarding that other meeting.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Councilman Fitzwater?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind us that even though council seats are nonpartisan, there are some elected seats based on party. The county central committees, city representatives on both the Democratic and Republican are based on city wards. So we may want to at least get input from both of those central committees on what our wards look like, because it could impact the members of both of those central committees. Not sure if there are any others, but I know those two are elected based on party.
So perhaps if the city could reach out to them, would that be appropriate? Even though they're partisan groups, how do we maneuver that?
I mean, we can send out an invitation generally to the public because city politics are meant to be nonpartisan. If there are particular groups that the city council members think that they need their input of to make a competent decision, I would say that it'd probably be more appropriate for those of individual council members to reach out and ask to solicit that information. It's just the intersection between municipal elections and partisan voting is one that was really tried to be separated probably 20, 30 years ago now. So I would say that maybe a more prudent approach to make sure that any group that you think is necessary to get their input in order to make this decision is kind of the way to go. I would just avoid it from the city or from staff directly. You know, certainly we'll make a call out to any interest groups, give public important consideration, but the Missouri law really kind of treats the municipal elections and partisan elections as really kind of two separate things.
Okay, thank you for that guidance. Any other comments? So it looks like we'll have that on the 20th. And Councilman Hensley.
It's possible to go back to. Sorry. We go to the page that has the table. So when the percentage change is interesting, but what's out of whack is, I guess, what's in the 2020. Right?
It's so what's out of whack actually isn't represented in these numbers.
Okay.
It's so federal law requires it sets a guideline of total deviation of 10%. And so that's the total deviation from the ideal district, measuring both from lower than the district, so essentially your smallest district as compared to your largest district.
It just can't be a 10% split between.
Right. You know, ideally, everyone has the same population, but, you know, that's basically impossible. So the federal government requires you to be within a total deviation of 10%. So
So
5% one way, 5% another is, you know, kind of
So
an
we'll kind
easy
of
way
be
to
aiming
think
at 8,000 or 9,000 person.
Yeah. Do we, what is that ideal ward? Do we have that handy, Eric? I think it's in the 82 or 83 is the total population. divided
That's
by
about
5.
correct. So,
So somewhere in there. So,
yes.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Mr.
I just
Barron?
point out,
Yes.
while there is a scheduling conflict, such things have occurred in the past. It's really the council's desire on whether to have this as a work session or to undertake the discussion in a regular council meeting.
Sure.
And so as important as a CDBG hearing is, you know, there are other locations that it can be rescheduled to.
Absolutely. It seems like there was a lot of head nodding to just go ahead and do it on the 20th. So I think unless there's any objections, seems like everybody wants to do the 20th. So I think we're good. So thank you for giving us both of those options. And we'll move forward with the 20th. Okay. So with that, we will move on to item 19. I need a motion to approve the August closed session minutes.
So moved.
For August 16th. And we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Ward,
Aye.
Wiseman,
Aye.
Fitzwater,
Aye.
Hensley,
Aye.
Kimna. Lester,
Aye.
Schreiber, Spencer,
Aye.
Spicer,
Aye.
Vote.
Aye.
Item 20, closed session. I will entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 610.021 of the revised statutes of Missouri. The chair will entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss the following: attorney-client privileged communication, section 610.0211. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
I so move.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Wiseman,
Aye.
Fitzwater,
Aye.
Hensley,
Aye.
Kimna, Lester,
Aye.
Schreiber, Spencer,
Aye.
Spicer,
Aye.
Vote,
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Okay, we will go into closed session as soon as the room is clear, and thank you everyone for joining us.